We'll start our practice today either in child's pose, downward dog, or dolphin. Take your attention to your breath and see as you begin your practice today if you can bring just a little bit more awareness to the breath in the pose. Just start to notice how the back body gets full and bright on the in-breath, and how there's a softening on the out-breath. We'll stay here for 3 more breaths. Allow yourself to come to this place of stillness as we start the practice. You have to be still to really dive into and be curious about some of these postures. If you're moving too fast in your practice, it's really hard to kind of notice what's going on. And as you're ready, let's all meet now in all fours position. And in all fours position, inhale, draw your heart forward and lift your chin, lift your sit bones. Exhale, look in toward your heart. And the fullness that you found in the last pose, see if you can find even more fullness in the back body as you look in toward the heart, as you draw from the pubic bone to the navel. And again, inhale. The heart reaches forward, the chin lifts nicely. Exhale, and as you draw your tailbone down to the earth, you look in toward your heart, and the head just hangs. And one more time, inhale, breath, lift your sit bones, draw your heart forward. Exhale, look at the back body as full as possible. Come back to what feels like the neutral position between cat and cow. Lift yourself up to come to downward facing dog just as a transition pose. Walk your hands back toward your feet. You're at the very back of the mat with your feet hip distance apart. Bend both knees. Take your hands to your low back and root down to rise up. Step your right foot forward and bend your right knee. With your right knee bent, bend your elbows. So you're in this cactus pose. Take your elbows forward, take your hands back, open your chest nicely. From here, straighten your front leg and take your hands behind your back so the heads of the arm bones draw back as you hold on to your wrists and just draw forward. With the front leg straight, just start to notice, be curious about what's happening with the front leg. We'll do this 2 more times here. Inhale, bend your knee, come to that cactus pose again with your fingers spread. Draw your elbows forward, your hands back to open your chest nicely. Exhale, swing your hands back, hold on to your wrist. With your front leg straight, draw down, not too deep, just to bring the awareness to the back side of the front leg. And one more, inhale as you bend the knee. And with your hands in this cactus pose, elbows come forward, hands come back. You open the chest nicely. Exhale, release your hands with both legs straight. Draw your heart forward and down. And bend your knee to just step yourself back to downward facing dog again. In downward facing dog, you can pause here before walking your hands back to your feet with your knees bent, with your hands to your low back, root down to lift yourself up. Step your left foot forward. And with your left foot forward, same thing, bend your knee. With your left knee bent, take your arms up with the elbows bent. Draw your elbows forward, draw your palms back, look up toward the sky. Exhale, swing your arms back, straighten your leg, hold on to your wrists, and just soften down. And you notice the difference. As you notice the difference, you make adjustments. You bend your knee to lift yourself up to come to that cactus pose again. With your fingers spread to tone the upper arms, take your hands back, take your elbows forward, open your chest. Exhale, straighten your arms, straighten your front leg, draw down. And one more time, inhale, bend your knee, take your arms in this cactus pose, elbows forward, hands back, heart lifted. Exhale, you soften. You just notice on the third cycle, like what are some sort of idiosyncratic aspects of this pose that you can learn from? And now slowly bend your knee, place your hands on the mat, step to downward facing dog. Again, just as a transition pose from downward facing dog, walk your hands back to your feet with both knees bent. Place your hands to your low back, root down to rise up, and step to the front of your mat. At the front of your mat, lift and spread your toes as a way to engage your foundation so much more fully. With the toes spread, with the toes lifted, now see if you can keep the spread and take your toes down to the mat. And as you press through the tip tops of the toes, inhale, take your arms up and back. Exhale, lower yourself down to a forward fold and bend your knees. Step your right leg back and take your right knee to the earth. As you take your right knee to the earth, take your left elbow to the top of the left leg, take your right arm up and draw over to the side to get a stretch to one side. Now let's stretch the opposite side. So take your hand down to the mat, lift your back knee up with your toes tucked under, with the knee lifted up. Twist and just use that length that we got on the side to find fullness in the twist. Take your left arm up, your right hand down, reach over and release your hand down. Step your back foot forward. Place both hands to the low back and lift yourself up. Reach your arms up to the sky and way back with the chest open nicely. Exhale, lower yourself down to a forward fold. Bend both knees to step your left leg back. Take your left knee to the earth. Take your right forearm to the right thigh. Inhale, take your left arm up, reach it over to the side, and just notice again with curiosity. Like, are you able on this side maybe to go a little bit deeper, or is it slightly different than the opposite side? Let's do the twist again. So take your left hand from up in the air to down on the floor and lift your back knee up off the floor to twist as you reach your right arm up now. Open your chest really nicely in the pose. Exhale, release your hand down. Step your back foot forward. Place both hands to the low back and root down to lift yourself up. Again, sweep your arms up and reach them way back. Exhale, come to the earth. Inhale, lengthen your spine and look forward. Exhale, bend your knees to plant your hands. Step your left leg back. Plant your back heel. Bend your right knee and take your hands right above your right knee to lift yourself up. So keep your right knee bent, your back heel on the earth. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Bend your elbows, hug your elbows in, open your chest, look up toward the sky. Exhale, lead with your heart to come down so that it's almost like your heart is about to tap your inner knee. And inhale, free your arms and come to the cactus pose. Open your chest again. Exhale, interlace your fingers behind your back. Bring your chest to your inner knee to soften again. Inhale, cactus arms, open your chest again. Exhale, interlace your fingers, draw down. Inhale, open up with curiosity. Exhale to show that gratitude as you bow forward. Place your hands now on the mat. Step your back foot forward. Place both hands to your low back and lift yourself up. And after those repetitions, just kind of notice with curiosity, like how one side feels so different than the other. Stand tall in the pose. Breathe in deep and breathe out long. With your eyes bright, inhale, sweep your arms up and reach them back. Exhale, spread your wings to come down to the forward fold and place your hands by your ankles to take your right foot back. Press your right heel down and inhale, lift yourself up. Take your arms in that cactus pose first with your fingers spread. Draw your elbows forward, your palms back. Look up, open the chest nicely. Exhale, keep your knee bent. Interlace your fingers behind your back so you can keep the fingers interlaced near the low back, or now that the shoulders have had some work, you can lift them off the back. Inhale, lift yourself up, and same thing in a cactus pose. Open your chest up. Exhale, draw your hands behind you. Bow. This honoring gesture. You honor the practice. You honor your curiosity. Inhale, lift yourself up, bend your elbows, take your hands back, open your chest. Exhale, same thing. Draw your heart down. Release your hands. Step your back foot forward. Place both hands to your low back and inhale, rise up. Just pause in Tadasana here. Come back to a nice long in-breath and a long out-breath. See if you can keep a nice steady rhythm to the breath. It doesn't have to be the 4-4 count, but a nice steady rhythm as we continue our practice. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Reach your arms up and back. Breathe out, 4, 3, 2, 1 to come down. Breathe in, place your hands at the shin bones, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend your knees. Come to a plank position. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. Lower yourself slowly to the earth. Place your hands right alongside your ribs. Press your toenails down, but especially your baby toenails down. That allows you to open the hips nicely in this cobra pose. So on the in breath, just lift your chest forward, draw your shoulders back, stay lifted. Now, this shouldn't be too much weight on your wrists. Have your back muscles do the work. Now, see if you can keep the back muscles working and lift your feet up. So you're in this baby cobra pose with your feet lifted. Now, only if you feel like you're ready to go there can you free your arms and reach your hands back toward your lifted feet. And exhale, release your hands, make a pillow with your forearms, and turn your head toward your right elbow. Just pause here. Now slowly come back to press your forehead on the mat. Place your hands in cobra pose. With your forehead on the mat, with your hands in cobra pose, take the heads of the arm bones toward your ears slightly and lift them up, but keep your forehead down on the mat. Now, keeping the shoulders in that position, inhale, lift your head up off the mat, come to a baby cobra pose. You're still pressing the baby toenails down to open the pelvis nicely. Keep a nice lift here in your back muscles. Inhale, see about lifting your feet as well. Now lift your arms only if that feels right for you. Just be curious here as you come to this full Shalabhasana pose. Can you stay with that evenness of the breath, that 4 count breath? Now slowly release your hands down, stack your hands so that you create a pillow, and turn your head so that you're looking at your left elbow as you rest. Take your head back to center. Release your hands so that they come to that cobra pose. Press your forehead down. And with your forehead pressed down, with your hands in this cobra pose, lift your shoulder blades, hug them in toward each other. Have a strong engagement on the fingertip tops. Now slowly lift your head again. If you'd like, you can lift your feet again. And if that's all working, lift your hands again with your palms facing each other. Come to the strong Shalabhasana. If you're sitting all day, this is really useful for your back muscles to get so strong. And exhale, release. This time, come to child's pose or downward facing dog, whichever might feel like just a nice contour pose so that you get the back muscles to lengthen out through the breath. Find a pose that works for you in the pause. And as you're ready, come down to your knees and come to a kneeling position. And in this kneeling position, we'll once again do the cactus pose. So with your elbows in line with the shoulders, with the hands slightly back, you'll open the chest. So as you press all the toenails down, especially again the baby toenails down, come to the cactus pose. Take your hands back, take your elbows forward, open your chest nicely. Now exhale, take your right elbow under your left. Now, some of us can actually come to a prayer pose in this, but for most of us, just holding on to the shoulders works nicely. So, whichever pose works for you. Just lean back so you open the front side of the body so you engage nicely and release your arms. Come back to the cactus pose. Open your chest nicely, elbows forward, hands back. Exhale, take your left elbow under your right, and same thing, either hold on to your shoulders or wrap your wrists, lean back, inhale, lift up, same thing, open your chest nicely with your hands in this cactus pose, reach the hands back, exhale, right elbow under the left. Give yourself a hug or wrap your wrists, lean back, inhale, open your chest nicely in cactus pose. Exhale, left elbow under the right, lean back. Inhale, lift yourself up. And same thing that we did earlier, cat cow with your toes tucked under. Inhale, just move your head easily. Sometimes the neck gets really tight in that, so just let it hang in the exhale breath as you get the back body lifted nicely. Inhale, move your heart forward. Exhale, look in toward your heart. Inhale again. And exhale. Just as a transition, step your hands a giant step forward. Lift your knees up off the mat to come to downward facing dog and pause there. Before taking your hands back, walk your hands back to your feet with your knees bent. Place your hands to your low back and lift yourself up. Come to a wide stance. In your wide stance, place your hands right at your hip points. Turn your right toes out. Bend your right knee. Take your arms again in this cactus pose. We're doing a lot of upper chest openers to really help you facilitate this nice length in the breath. Take your hands back, your elbows forward. Just open up nicely. Just drop your left hand back and straighten your right leg as you just get a nice length to the side body. Keep that length even as you take your right hand down to come to a triangle pose. Now, for some, we've been working on this neck lengthening. For some of us, just taking the lifted arm to the low back and letting your head hang. Just be curious. Like, does that work for you? There's one practice that Ana Forrest does, a really nice yoga teacher, and she just really sees how much tightness there is in people's necks. So she said, just let your head hang. It's not a practice that is promoted in other styles of yoga, but just for this practice, you might want to find a little bit more freedom on the left side of your neck here. And inhale, bend your knees slightly to lift yourself out of the pose. Exhale, release your hands. Turn your right toes so that the right foot is parallel to the back edge. Left toes turn out. Bend your knee. Lift your arms up into that cactus form that we've been working on. Take your elbows forward. Take your palms back to open your chest really nicely. Keep that nice openness to the chest as you straighten your front leg and start to open the whole side of the body here as you reach your arm over your head. Get that nice length. Keep the length as you take the hand down to your shin bone. You just enjoy this length. And again, if you want to try that variation, if you're curious and just want to find out how, when you let the neck be free and the hand just kind of rest to the low back, just let the head hang. Just kind of notice how you can get so much more length from the right ear to the right shoulder. Just allow that freedom to that side of the neck. And on your next inhale breath, lift yourself up out of the pose and release your hands. Let's all come to lying on the mat as you lift your pelvis up and just support the low back. Support the sacrum, I mean. Support the sacrum so that the low back actually can just rest, can just release toward the earth. With your feet planted, it's your choice. You can have your arms in this resting position, or you can bend your elbows and press the elbows down as a way to get the upper chest to open a little bit more. 4 count breath will work to start enhancing your pose. If you find after being in this pose for just a little bit that you can take your block to the next higher level, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, just stay and once again, just attune to your breath, just being mindful and listening to the sound of the breath. Soften your facial muscles. Let the longer and fuller breath extend to the upper chest area. Have a nice open throat. A softness to your facial muscles. Those of you that wish to take your feet straight up to come to a supported shoulder stand are welcome to do that, or you can stay right where you are. And just kind of notice with curiosity, like how your breath is if your feet are elevated, or maybe how, after you've maintained this pose for a while, what areas feel really open? What areas feel fatigued? Can you bring just a little bit more fullness to your pose in some way? Stay for 3 more cycles of the breath in whatever form of the pose you're in. And as you're ready, you can bend your knees and Plant your feet on the floor, or if they're already on the floor, just lift your pelvis away from the block and take your pelvis to the floor, but take your right ankle to the outer left knee. Now, for some of us, this is plenty. You can just let your right thigh just move away from your chest. Or you can draw your left thigh in or use a strap behind the thigh. Some people can even take their hands in front of your shin, but I recommend for most of us to just hold on in such a way that allows you to get the lumbar curve. But, if you want to try another variation, please do. Just open your pelvic area by drawing the knee back, the right knee back as you press. Now your left foot, see about taking your left shin more parallel to your mat as if your left foot is pressing into the wall behind you. So your left foot is quite engaged. Your right foot is quite engaged. That engagement just allows you to open your pelvis very nicely. Now take your left ankle to the outer right knee, and this leg might be just completely different. You may want to just keep your right foot on the floor, but if you're feeling up for it, you can lift your right foot up off the floor, interlace your fingers, or take your strap behind the belly of the right thigh as you draw your left knee further away from your ribs. Soften your facial muscles. As if your right foot is pressing into that imaginary wall. When you do that action of imagining the right foot is pressing into the wall, like immediately the lumbar spine reacts. You get this strength in the muscles that support the lumbar curve. So keep that foot active. Keep your bent left leg active as well. And notice with curiosity what's going on in this side compared to the other. What can you do either through the work of the cycle of the breath or to the alignment that you have to just allow you to dive a little bit deeper to explore more fully. Now slowly release both feet to the floor. Take your arms out in this T position with your palms facing up. Draw your feet in toward each other and draw your inner knees to touch each other. Lift your feet up off the floor, get a nice curve in the lumbar spine. Take your knees to one side. So, your choice, as you take your knees to the side in a twist, one of the things I like to do if my shoulder on the opposite side lifts up is just put a block under my knees because then the shoulders stay down. And maybe as you stay here for a little bit, you can take the block out from under your knees. But I like the knees to be rooted on something rather than just lifted in the air. And inhale to lift your knees up. Again, find the curve first before taking the knees to the opposite side. And again, if your shoulder on the opposite side likes to lift, then place a block under your knees. That'll help you bring your shoulder down. Both shoulders stay planted. Pause here. Bring your breath to the side body. Find as much fullness in the side body as possible. Today, in this hybrid practice, we've been able to hit lots of different areas of the body. Really focus in different ways of doing the poses. And our shoulders, our neck, our back muscles, our hips. And now in this twisting action, just getting more length to the sides of the body. And inhale to lift your knees up, park your feet on the floor. Take your hands right at your hip points with the palms right at the hip points. Lift your hip points high into the palms of the hands so that you get an extreme arch of the lumbar area. Now do the opposite. Draw your hip points away from the palms of the hands and just press the back toward the mat. It's cat-cow, but in just a slightly different um, working of the pelvic area. So inhale, lift your hip points up into the palms of the hands, and exhale, press back. So you're drawing the pubic bone up as you press your waistline back. Just exaggerate this. Lift the hip points into the hands even farther. Exhale, you press back. So your feet are very active here. Your legs are helping you do this action so that you work the back muscles nicely. Come back to what feels like the center of that movement, a more neutral but natural curve of the lumbar spine. Stretch your right leg out, stretch your left leg out. Allow yourself plenty of time to assimilate the actions of the poses that we did. Enjoy your Shavasana.